Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and everyone's muted right now. And the only time that you unmute yourself is when you are speaking. I have a new crew today. What can I say? And I needed to remind them or tell them for the first time. Actually, not only one, but everyone's, you know how it goes. Anyway, let's go back to the show. We are here about building confidence, which is an important thing for everything we do in the world. If there's no confidence, nothing goes right for you. It becomes harder to do things. But you build confidence by doing what you need to do, by not playing around and saying, okay, I'll do it tomorrow because I'm afraid to do it today. The next day it becomes more difficult. Every time you put something off, sorry, it doesn't become easier, it becomes difficult. And I want to welcome you to the MindPlore with Carla and Friends show. I am here with some you know and one you don't know. I have Jeannie Alford here, who is an amazing speaker for Toastmasters. I have Pastor Billy here, who is another amazing speaker, and I'm very happy to have him. And we have Ali Raza Khan here, who is very new to speaking on MindPlore, but not very new to speaking at all. And he does tend to be very inspiring. Having said that, I expect that we will have a wonderful conversation on developing confidence throughout the world. So having said that, Jeannie, could you please begin by maybe whatever you want to say about confidence?
Well, it's been an interesting discussion we've had over the last couple of weeks because we talked about the importance of allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to take chances. And then last week, we really focused on the importance of taking risks and how that helps us grow. And now I think confidence just makes sense to add to it because confidence is a feeling. It's a state of being, if you will. And when you look at the definition, it starts off with a feeling of self-assurance, but it comes with words like self-reliance, belief in oneself, positivity, assertiveness, poise, nerve, and one of my favorite words, aplomb. I love when somebody tells me that I've done something with aplomb, which means that I was self-confident. And I was showing that I believed in myself when I was stating whatever it is I was talking about. And that's a great skill, but it's one that needs to be acquired and practiced and reinforced regularly. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this discussion goes forward, Carla.
It should be a wonderful discussion for all of us and should have an effect on everyone who is watching also, because we all need to build confidence. Having said that, how have you built your confidence through the years, Jean?
Well, it's interesting. I tell people to practice a lot when I'm talking about speaking or presentation training, media training. I always have people practice. And what I found is that I had to practice just as much as the people that I was coaching. And that's one of the reasons I became a Toastmasters, because for most of my life, I was teaching others to do something. And when I started to become my own coach and build my own business, I realized that I let my voice go quiet. I was busy building up other people's voices. So I joined a Toastmasters club that focuses on entrepreneurs, and I have been practicing how to speak for my own perspective, and that's affected my writing. It's affected my coaching. It's affected how I show up in the world, and it makes a big difference. There's a great philosopher from the hip hop world named Neo, and when he was first coming out, he was 19 or 20 years old. I saw an interview, and the interviewer asked him, how is it that you're so sexy? And his answer stopped me so much that I stood in my living room and I sat down on my chair and I just stared at the TV for a moment. He said, and I'll paraphrase, he said, "I'm not sexy physically like somebody like Usher, but my mother taught me to be confident, and it's my confidence that makes me sexy." And I thought, wow, that's a lot of wisdom coming from a 20-year-old. And that's when I realized, um, and I should say, I was looking at my son, who was about that age at the time, when I realized that we need to listen to our young folks sometimes, because the wisdom comes through and they don't even know they're being wise at that moment. But what he said about carrying himself with confidence, when he walks out the door, he said, "I am confident and people pay attention." And that's when I have to say I started paying attention to the level of confidence that people have in themselves.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you, Jeannie. Let's move on to Pastor Billy and see what he thinks when it comes to confidence.
Yeah, well, Jeannie, you took the words out of my mouth or out of my brain or out of my mind or something like that. But when I like to use, when it comes to confidence, I love the words that Jeannie used. I like to use very, what we would call action words, because in order to be confident or in order to practice confidence, we have to be active, right? Confidence is not passive. I mean, it might be internally, but so that's why I like the word jump. 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 In order to be confident, you have to jump. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know, uh, there may be a shred of fear in you doing something, as Carla said earlier, or you may not want to do something, and if you put it off, it's going to be harder the next day, right, Carla? So I like to use the word jump, jump into things, and that's what I do all the time on a practical level. And so, when journalists, when reporters, editors are writing a news release or a news story, what are the questions that they have to answer? It's who, what, where, when, how, and why. I think all of us learned about that back in perhaps high school or middle school, that when a author is writing a story, you have to answer those six questions: who, what, where, when, how, and why. So when we're talking about confidence, who? Well, it's me. I need to be more confident. What? I need to be more confident about life. Where? Well, everywhere. In order to be confident, you have to practice confidence everywhere in every situation, whether as a parent, as a spouse, as a CEO, or just as a human being. We must practice confidence, because here's a nugget I want to share with you. Confidence produces hope in other people. So I'll repeat that. I want you to write that down. All of our viewers, I want you to write this down. Confidence that you, Jeannie, you said a plume. I thought it was a plum, but when you do something with a plume, it means, hey, you did a great job. And so confidence produces hope in other people. And what do most people need? People need hope, right? They need hope about a lot of things. So when we exude, when we leak, when we export when confidence is leaking out of our pores, it goes on other people. So where do we need to do it? Everywhere. When do we need to do it? Again, I'm going through the who, what, where, when, how, and why. When do we need to do it? Every time, right? Every time. It's not like we can be confident in 5 out of 10 situations or 8 out of 10. We need to be confident 10 out of 10 situations, right? And the more, uh, and Jeannie got into this, the more you practice confidence, the more confident you become. I mean, pretty soon it
Reverend Bill.
becomes a natural ability. If it's gene, then you're not going to have that. How do you do it? You just keep practicing. And why do you do it? You do it in order to produce hope in other people. All right, I'll be quiet.
Thank you, Pastor Billy. You're right. Confidence grows as you begin doing things more. When I started the English show, I had no idea what was going to happen 4 years ago. And I remember saying to Rayhan, this isn't, why would anyone watch? And yet it grew tremendously. And every time I start a show, I wonder about it because I don't know who's going to show up. But unless I go and do what I need to do, I can't move forward. Pastor Billy, we can only see half of your face right now. Thank you. Allie, do you want to describe your feeling on confidence, please?
Yes, Carla, sure. Thank you very much, guys. This is my debut at MindPlore, and I'm feeling absolutely excited. And I'm so amazed that Carla finally invited me to her show. It's definitely an honor. Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Raza Khan. I am from Pakistan. I remember what once this superstar named Priyanka Chopra said about confidence. She said, confidence is your best accessory that you can wear. So wear your confidence. And I think now the question is, where does this confidence come from? How to inculcate that confidence in you and your children. I believe you can achieve anything, but it is going to take effort. The fear that what people will think about you, the fear of worrying about what other people might think, basically negativity. And I believe negativity, it won't matter. It won't be the main thing that holds you back. You can back throughout that and you can achieve whatever you want. I think we should quit negativity and start having gratitude every single day. We should stop caring about what other people will say and start living your version of life. And I think the best antidote to haters is confidence. And one of the ways we build confidence is surrounding ourselves with the right people and by having the right mentors. I think failure is necessary to be able to improve. So failure is, again, something that leads us to confidence. Like, for example, just take my example. I was once a very shy, unsociable, introvert kind of a person. And now I'm an international speaker. So it's all because I failed a lot at the beginning. But what I learned was, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how I came out as a more empowered, strong, confident person because I worked on myself. I kept myself away from negativity, from negative people. And I'm so blessed to have some amazing mentors like Rehan sir and Carla, who every single day inspire me to dream bigger and to do more. And I think they definitely contribute a lot in making me a much more confident person. So if you are not willing to fail, you are not going to succeed. So loving yourself, making good friends, having optimism in your life contributes in your confidence, in building you a good, confident personality. So this was my take on confidence. Thank you.
Let's take it a little further, Allie. your confidence is growing. My confidence is growing. And so is the confidence of Pastor Billy and Jeannie. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's true. Every day we are faced with new things. Every day we are faced with, should I do this or should I let it go? Whether it be speaking, maybe even training the dog to do something, anything we do for the first time, we don't do confidently. Now, if that is true, and I believe it is, how can we help people turn around and say, okay, I am going to try to do this. I'm going to do it whether I want to or not. And who would like to answer that first? Because I think it's very important, and I think it's important for people to realize that you don't go one day you're extremely confident and the next day you look like, oh, I can't do it. That happens with everyone in the world. It's not anything unusual. And Pastor Billy, I
Yeah.
thought I heard you say something.
Yeah. 2 words, baby steps. 2 words, baby steps. Gaining confidence, and focus on the word gaining. Gaining is something that is incremental. So I know that you, Carla and Jeannie and Ali, you would, because all of you are confident. You're exactly right, Carla. You don't become confident if you've never been confident before. It's done by baby steps. It's incrementalism. So, and it comes, as Jeannie said earlier, with practice. You just have to practice being confident in every situation, and then it'll come naturally. So baby steps is just those 2 little words to our viewers, that you have to start somewhere. Today's the day, now is the time, here is the place. Baby steps.
When you say baby steps, what do you mean by
In other
that?
words,
And Pastor Billy, please remember when I'm speaking, you need to close your mic. Thank you.
yeah, baby steps is just really what it means. When a little child begins to walk, they're not doing so well, but they're getting up and doing it. Maybe they're holding on to a piece of furniture. So when it comes to confidence, baby steps is you just try it once in perhaps a very small situation with your family, with your friends, and you say something or you act on something, because confidence is not only verbal, it's not only vocal, it's not only with speech, it's also with action. That's why previously I used the word jump. So, but those jumps at first are going to be small, or maybe you want to take a big jump. That's why we call it a leap of faith. And you just jump in, you leap in, or you take baby steps. So, and I'm thinking about people with different personalities. I used to be an introvert. I didn't like to talk to people. I didn't like to go out, but I began baby steps, practicing that confidence as a young person. And then it's like Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You finally reach that place, or we're all struggling to reach that place of self-actualization. And it's all about baby steps, taking one small step at a time. That's what I meant, Carla. Thanks.
Thank you. And the mic problem is for everyone, not just you. Um, Jeannie, before we go back to Allie.
Yeah, I think that what Pastor Billy says about baby steps is critical. You can't make change all at once. Well, you can, but it's more jarring if you take a step and accept the changes, and you take another step and you accept the changes. That helps you do it with more grace and more aplomb. And what I wanted to add is that there's an inner game to confidence. And the inner game is, what's the conversation in your mind? We have, I believe, millions of thoughts that go through our mind in a nanosecond. We have no idea of all the thoughts. We're only aware, and I would say that the reason we say we use 10% of our mind is, I think that what the speakers at that time were meaning was, we're only aware of 10% of our thoughts, because they go so fast. They go at the same speed, according to Deepak Chopra, the same speed as bosons and quarks in the subatomic world. They're just flitting through. And if they're all negative thoughts, then you're going to have a negative reaction. If they're all positive thoughts, you're going to have a more positive reaction. So if you start to pay attention to what I call the voices in my mind, the thoughts that you pay attention to, there's one that's a self-disciplinary one that's probably the voice of your parent. I call it Dad, because it's the one that doesn't want me to push too far, wants me to be careful, wants me to be aware that there's danger. And danger could be a lot of things. Putting yourself out there, people might criticize you. Having a thought and sticking to it, people might argue with you. So this thought voice says, don't do that. But you have to be able to put a block there and say, I've got this. And you've got to be able to be aware that you need to tell yourself, I've got this. And then you take that step. So when you work on the inner part of the inner voices, when you hear the one that says, who do you think you are? You say, I'm Jean. I'm here. I'm here to state a certain thought or certain belief. I'm here to bring hope to others. You have to short circuit those negative thoughts. And that means you need to take some time to meditate and be aware. And then once you work on the inner game, the outer game becomes more of a reflection of who you are. We start with what we think in our mind. So as Ali mentioned, and I must say it was very wise, Ali, if we live in the state of gratitude, it's much easier because we short circuit those voices in our head that question us. Now, some people have called that the ego voice, but there's a reason that we have this ego voice and that we have this ego. The ego is there to keep us safe, to let us live, to let us survive. It's the higher level part of how we think that gets us beyond that and helps us grow in confidence, grow in our capabilities, grow in how we show up in the world. So it takes a little bit of managing that friction to allow ourselves to be confident. I can tell you the first time I got up to speak, I was actually at a press conference. There were about 30 reporters in the room, and my boss came up and said, you have to introduce. And I was thinking, I can't do that. But I got up because I was the person that put together the press conference, and I stared out at everybody out there, and I said, welcome. And the minute the word came out, then the rest, because I had done all the preparation, I had prepared everybody, I had coached all the speakers, but I didn't coach myself. So I was taken aback when he said I needed to go up. And I saw and experienced what happens when you don't prepare, because I went, but nobody else knew. It was only a nanosecond of time. Nobody else knew that I had that moment of pure fear. I had to step through it. And after that, I never had a problem when I started a press conference. It was easy. Welcome, we're here to talk about, and then you introduce the speakers. So that's why I know that practice is important. Being prepared is important. Believing in yourself is important. Back to you, Carla.
Believing in yourself is one of the hardest things that we need to do. I know growing up, I was told, oh, check it out with your mom or check it out with your sister or your friends. Instead of saying, hey, I know I can do it. We are the only ones who really know that we can accomplish something. And if we don't believe in ourselves, we don't go anywhere. So I suggest very highly the first thing is to learn to believe in yourself. Now we have a young boy here who is learning to believe in himself, and I'd like to know what he has to say in this regards.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carla. I agree with what Jeannie, ma'am, and Pastor said. And believing in yourself is, of course, very important. Um, I'd like to talk about something else related to confidence. Um, just want to give an example. Just imagine that there is a student, a medical student, and he has a medical exam after a month. It's very important exam, and he has to get 90% in order to go into a medical, in order to continue his medical studies. And you can imagine it's a very, very important exam. So for that, he has to every single day spend 7 hours studying. Now he has set a mind that every day he's going to study for 7 hours. And tomorrow, from tomorrow, he's going to begin. He's going to commence his studies and his preparation for the exam. Now it's the day, and he has like a month for the exam. And he studies for 2 hours and then he drop off. He get busy into his phone or other disturbance, social media, anything. And now he keep on doing this every day. He prepared his mind to study for 7 hours, but he's only doing it for 2 to 3 hours, and that's it. He know that that is very dangerous. He's putting himself in risk, but still he's doing it. Now there are two reasons for this. Number one, what he's doing gives him much pleasure than studying, and he knows that the goal is important. Getting into a college and studying and continuing his medical is important, but still he's not studying because there are three things. There's a tactic, there's mindset, and then there's goal. Now this person is only focusing on the goal, not the not something that's in between, the mindset, which is extremely important. Now there are two solutions to this, because I'm a kind of a motivational speaker who would love to give people real time solutions. I'm not someone who'd say, okay, go for it and you can do it. No, I give practical solutions. I identify the problems. So I think it's important that there's two solutions. Number one, he should focus on the mindsets, or number two, he should stop doing what he's doing. He should cancel his medical studies. He should think of something else that he likes more than medical. So sometimes we need to take several steps that can lead us to confidence. If we are doing something that we know we are not supposed to be doing, and that doesn't give us immense pleasure or the kind of pleasure that we need, then we should stop doing it. And instead, we should go on for something that we enjoy, that we like doing. So I think we should eliminate anything that gives us lack of confidence, that gives us, bad vibes, or that doesn't give us pleasure. Or either choose something that gives us as much pleasure as we get on social media or using other things. And then only we can become confident and work on our goals and tactics. So I think this was my take. I don't know what you guys think. And also, I have a question for you. Um, do you think that mindsets are important? And how to do that, because I've been looking up for answers for these questions, how to have a state of mind, and I think that's very important in order to gain confidence. Let's see what you guys think about it.
Allie, that's a good question. And it's also something that we can bring up at another time. Today, we're talking about building confidence, and we're going to stick with that topic. Now, let's get back to the question I asked you about building confidence. What do you do to build your own confidence?
Sure, thank you, Carla. If you look at some of the most successful people we have in the world who are so confident, be it Oprah Winfrey, be it Bill Gates, be it Mark Zuckerberg, be it anyone who's so confident and who's so intrepid about speaking and public speaking. There's one thing that is very similar and common in all of them. That is, they're all born with a lifetime approach of learning. And that's exactly what I do. I know that, but I think this has a relation with my confidence. And yes, I agree with the main factor that we've been discussing today, practice. I am a firm believer that practice makes a man perfect. So I practice. I simply practice. I keep on doing this. I know it sometimes is very difficult to, consistently do something, but, it's important. And, discipline in life is always very important. And that's what I believe. And that's how I gain a lot of confidence. And also people around me. That's my focus right now. They have always been very positive and very optimistic about me. For example, online, we can see wherever I go, I get a lot of appreciation. If I would have got some negative comments, and yes, I do sometimes, but I try and ignore them and don't, take them over me. So I look at the positive side, and that gives me a lot of confidence. Believe me, that's how it works. When you receive more appreciation and more, positive response from people, then you become confident. And it's true, it's my personal experience. So that's how I build my confidence.
Thank you, Allie. Pastor Billy, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I have a lot to say, but I'll be brief. I love that Ali used the word discipline. Discipline is so important in building confidence because all of us are placed in situations, and then sometimes we're called upon to respond, right? Whether, I mean, it could be something really big or something really small. And but the discipline that Ali described, where that comes in building confidence, is the discipline is you're saying something to yourself in your own mind. I need to respond. I need to respond. I need to jump in. I need to take baby steps. I need to leap in. So the discipline is that every time that we are given the opportunity or confronted with a situation, the discipline comes in that we say to our own mind, I have to jump in. I have to not take control, but I just need to confidently offer my opinion or confidently offer my suggestion. So for me, as I jump into things all the time, whether they're internationally or nationally, locally, or in my own family, that the confidence must be coupled with discipline. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it now. It's just like I said earlier: who, what, where, when, how, and why. Where, every place. When, every time. Who, everybody. So that's where what I call the everys. That's where the everys come in. And think about it: discipline. I mean, we have discipline in a lot of other areas of our life. I know, I'm sure all of us on the call are very disciplined, and whether it's going to bed on time, eating healthy foods, thinking good thoughts. And so all of those things are discipline. Well, confidence is based upon discipline as well. So those are my thoughts. And as Jeannie said, back to you, Carla.
You're muted.
Drives me nuts. What do you think when it comes to building confidence? How can we help our viewers begin to build it? I have so many people who come to the English show and beautifully say, I don't speak English. I have never spoken to an American before. I cannot do it. And they do it so beautifully. And I tell them, hey, you just did it. And they're like, oh, what did I just do? So it's people walking out of their comfort zone out of that box that they've created for themselves to begin to believe in themselves. And I think you may have something very wonderful to add.
Well, first, I want to acknowledge the icons that Ali Raza brought up. I'm old enough to remember when Mark Zuckerberg was just a nerdy kid at Harvard, and how he came out, and the work I've seen, the work that he has done with himself to become a much more confident CEO. And the person that is sitting in front of the Senate chamber during one of the hearings is leaps and bounds beyond the kid that came out of Harvard. There was a lot of work and a lot of people around him that helped build him up. I remember when Bill Gates was starting out, and we would all end up meeting at a trade show, and we'd be in a room. There was a group we called Flax and Hacks, which were reporters and PR people, and the rule was no business. It was just getting together and talking and having fun. And Bill Gates came in, and I remember thinking, somebody's got to teach him to tuck his shirt in. We were all basically in our early 20s, and there was a PR person that I knew who was in the room around me, and she says it's a work in progress, because he was a technologist and he wasn't aware of how he looked in the world. But the man we see today is completely different because he worked on himself. Every single one of us has the ability to work on ourselves, to work on the inner game. You talked about mindset, to work on that inner game, to make sure that the voices you pay attention to are the ones that say, you've got this, you can do this, you are an expert, you can allow yourself to shine, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn how to let ourselves shine. We have a role, we have a purpose of being here on this planet, and that's to shine and help others shine. And so I brought this up before. I always like the Marianne Williamson quote where she says, we're basically, she says, we're too afraid to shine, but who are we not to? That's our job. And every time we take a step out of our comfort zone changes. Every time you get on stage and you speak, you're going to be a little bit more comfortable the next time. I used to sing. I used to play guitar and sing at church when I was a kid. I headed up the folk choir. The first time I did it, it wasn't so good. But people said, oh, this was great. And I could tell the ones who were just trying to make me feel better versus the ones who said, I'm really glad you guys are doing this. I know you're going to have to practice a little bit more, because you put 30 kids together and it's not easy to get them to sing with one voice. But we all worked at it, and it came to a point where people came to church to hear us. And when I realized that, I knew that we had finally reached a milestone. And then we changed how we did our folk choir, and we started letting some people do solos. And the one thing that I will tell you that I learned in this process, I was playing a certain song and I hit the wrong chord. And when I hit the chord, I knew it. And I went, and I reacted. And a person that I knew who sang in a rock band came up to me later and he goes, I just want to tell you one thing that I want you to practice. And I said, what's that? He goes, when you hit the wrong chord, don't react. Because 9 times out of 10, the people out there didn't know. So you just get back on the right chord. And so from then on, I felt better about playing the guitar, up to a point where I would challenge the other guitarists to be able to do something a little fancier. And I learned, when you speak and you make a mistake, you take a breath and then you move through it. When you have a thought that makes you want to falter, I can't do that. Who am I? I'm not sure. Why are they asking me to do that? When you can step through it, then you become stronger in your confidence. When you can put your foot down and say, voices, committee, whatever you call it, you say, you need to calm down. I got this. There's a reason that Nike has kept just do it as its signature tagline for so long. It's an important life lesson. Just do it. You work through it. You learn from your mistakes, as Ollie said earlier. You learn from your mistakes. You become a better practitioner at what it is you do. So for the listeners out there, especially the ones that English isn't their first language, you speak. And sometimes you do that. I find it very charming when somebody says, oh, please excuse me, I don't speak well. And I want to then say, you're doing fine, because I want to celebrate the little successes. If I understand you, you're doing fine. That means that we get to help others build confidence just as much as we build our own. And that's the hope that I think Pastor Billy was talking about. If I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. We're a social entity. We're a social being. We need to build each other up, and we need to build ourselves up just as much.
And what you say is so very important. Many times we've been told, oh, build the other person up and forget about yourself. And I think that when we forget about ourselves, confidence goes down. And I think we need to learn, and I'd like to hear what Allie has to say about feeling comfortable building ourselves up, feeling comfortable about being who we are, and relaxing with who we are, because then we can really build another person up. Okay, Allie, go to it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carla. I agree with what Jeannie was saying about practice, and I wonder you really met Bill Gates and you did that, and Carla, you're fine. You just scared me. I thought maybe something happened. Well, I love you and I'm concerned about you. Thank
I'm
you.
fine. It was just a sneeze. Go on.
Okay. I was just so scared. Well, yeah, I just broke my tempo. So I was just saying that I agree with what Jean said. Carla was talking about believing in yourself and being comfortable. Now the question is how to do that. What are the practical solutions to it on practical grounds? I think it's important to love what you do. And that's how you will be confident in doing what you're doing. I shared this yesterday also in the conference that work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because when you'll do that, you will excel at everything. Be it your job, be it your personal life, be it your friends, social circle, everything. You will excel if you work on yourself. And confidence is something that brought me on social media, of course, that brought me becoming a social media speaker, a worker, an activist. If I were not confident, I would have never ended up being here. I would have never ended up talking to these amazing people. I would have never been able to become friends with Carla. So when you are confident gives you exposure. It gives you opportunities beyond what you think, beyond you can even think of. And you can excel at your job, you can excel and you can nail your job interviews if you are confident enough. And now confidence doesn't mean that you come and you speak loudly. Speaking loudly is not confidence. And that leads me to another question, which is what is the difference between being confident and being overconfident? So I think I need to focus more on that. I need to do a lot of research on what does it mean to be overconfident. And so I was just saying that being confident is not all about being loud while speaking or being too bold and saying everything that comes to your mind. No, confidence is all about doing things that you know are valuable, that you know will are that'll give something to the people you are communicating with, or what you are doing is valuable. For example, right now I want to do a lot of other things, but if I do that, what about my reputation with Carla? What about my reputation on social media? I'm risking myself. So you are a confident person. So again, it leads us to discipline, as we were mentioning about it, as we're talking about it. So it's important that we manage our own ideas and our thoughts. Sometimes we are too over proactive that we forget the limits and restrictions that we have. So that is also confidence, that if you are able to work with the boundaries, work inside your restrictions, and you don't cross the borderline. So I think confidence is all about is also being about being managed, about being organized, being having a self discipline. So this was my take.
Thank you, Pastor Billy.
Yeah, I love this. I love this conversation, this topic, because you know what's happening to me? You're helping me build my self confidence. Really, I'm not just saying that, but you're helping me build my self confidence. And if our viewers are lacking or haven't tried to be confident, you have to learn from others. So whether it's you're listening to Carla with MindPlore, or you're going on and looking at YouTube videos, get off TikTok. There's not a whole lot of confidence there. Go onto YouTube and look at great leaders and people that are self confident. Like one of my favorites is John Maxwell, who heads up a leadership organization. You can see John Maxwell videos, and they're free on YouTube and other places, Vimeo. So learn from others. Learn from others. That should be to our viewers. That should be one of the takeaways from this conversation: is you got to learn from others. And then here's the other takeaway I want to give: self-talk. Self-talk. And I think all of us have talked about self-talk, but I like to use the actual phrase. So what does self-talk mean when it comes to building confidence? Well, it means, how do you talk to yourself? Like, I think, Jeannie, you said, or Carla, you both said, well, when people come on Carla's English show, they say, oh, I don't speak English very well. Well, what's that? That's negative self-talk. And so our self-talk needs to be positive self-talk. So if you have B negative blood, you can turn it into B positive blood by self-talk. So talk to yourself. As a pastor, I always like to quote the Christian scriptures, and there's a great verse that says we need to speak to ourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in our hearts to the Lord. And that would be, Jesus Messiah. So anyway, the point is that how do we talk to ourselves? If we're always talking negatively, like saying, oh, I can't do that, or I can't do this, that's negative self-talk. Get rid of that. Throw that out and turn your negative self-talk into positive self-talk, and that will totally, totally, totally build your self-confidence and build your confidence. And then you can begin teaching others. You can begin coaching others, as Ali said. And that's a beautiful thing. When people see, confidence is transmutable. Confidence is transmutable. It's infectious. It can go viral. When people see confidence in you, it's going to build their confidence. So that's just some few short, confident thoughts, I hope, to our viewers.
You're always confident. when you're here, Pastor Billy, so don't be concerned. However, I do want to pick up on the point that you said, being confident enough to speak. I can't pronounce this man's name, but basically he's saying what everyone else is saying, and I'm interested in learning English. I'm joining Link. Just as an aside, there is no English show today. There's a lot of content up there. I probably will be back on Thursday, but your desire to learn is all you need. I always tell people, make mistakes, because unless you make mistakes, you don't learn anything. Speaking is one thing. We all can speak, and we blab on and on and on, including me and everyone in this group. But when you begin to learn is when you learn to listen. And listening is as important as making a mistake. And I say that often. We are getting ready to close very soon. I would like everyone to make maybe a minute of closing words, and then we will be ending the show. And I'm going to start with Pastor Billy. Come on. Pastor Billy, open up your mic, please.
Let me unmute. Yeah. Let me unmute myself. I'll just get my last word is that pray to God, and God will help you be confident. So, how's that for being brief about confidence? Pray to God, and God will give you the confidence that you need. That's it.
Pastor Billy, when you first came, you had 3 lines that you would say: be prompt, I forget what they are.
Yeah, those are the 3 B's: be brief, be blunt, and be gone.
Right. And I like it. And that is confidence, because you can only be brief when you know what you're saying. And if you don't know, that's fine too. Okay, Allie.
Yes, Carla, the same thing that Pastor Sir did. I'd like to end with a quote. It is confidence in our bodies, in our minds, and in our spirits that allows us to keep looking for adventures, for new adventures. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jeannie, I know you have a few words.
I want to take a moment to be practical and suggest that people do what Oprah Winfrey said to do and put yourself on the calendar. Allow yourself time to think, time to learn. As Pastor Billy said, you can watch people on YouTube. There are a lot of free conferences and workshops on the internet that you can go to with coaches. Put time on the calendar for yourself so that you can look at how you can better yourself, how you can build confidence in yourself. And every time that you hear a voice that says, I can't, you respond to just do it, because you can change that voice by simply stopping it and filling the void with something more positive, whether it's just do it, or I can do it, or hush down, Dad, you did your thing, now it's time for me to do mine. Whatever works for you, make that voice the one that you pay attention to. I would caution you on one thing. I have a voice that I call David Letterman. It's a little snarky, and I've realized I can't allow that snark to come out. So that's just my personal voice in there. And once I figured that out, my confidence grew, because I didn't allow the snark to cloud what I was showing outside in the world. So we get to make those choices. We get to choose how we show up in the world. and every single one of us has a beautiful spark to show.
And that is absolutely so true. We all have a spark. And like I think I said yesterday, we're a garden. And I want to say a garden of roses. And some may have 2 thorns, some may have 10, some may not have a thorn at all when you get it. But the point is, those thorns are there and they make us our individual self. Be happy you have them, but spend the time looking at those petals and smelling the rose scent that you are sending out to the public. Because when you smell that scent, you'll see that you're really a beautiful being. And having said that, we have come to the end of another MindPlore. We will be back on Thursday. The English show will most likely be back on Thursday, and you guys can come watch it and come and speak. But for today and after the conference, this is the only live I will be doing planned. And with that, we can all wave goodbye. We'll see you on Thursday, and you'll be a little more confident. Have a good day, folks.